guys, welcome to this episode. Today we're going to be talking about ISO, why ISO is really important to your photography, how you modify and control it on your camera in order to get the best exposure for your photography that you're capturing, and I'm going to show you the right settings maybe for different environments for you to get the best quality pictures as you possibly can. Okay guys, ISO, so let's start with ISO. So I've switched my camera on and I'm going to put it in manual mode, so put it on M. Okay, once I put it on M, you've got a couple of ways you can change your ISO. Basically what ISO is it's the sensitivity of light. So for example, your camera is viewing the light around its environment, and it's got like it's the sensitivity to the environment. So for example, if you are in a dark environment, you want to increase your ISO, and that's why sometimes you see like grainy images in your photography, because the ISO is so high that you get like little dots of color. And opposite, if you're in a really sort of bright environment, you probably want a low ISO. So essentially that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to juggle that, try to get the right balance with the ISO in order to get the right image. But so for example, in this camera, so this I'm shooting on a 7D, I've put it in manual mode. I'm going to click on the Q button, and in the Q button your ISO is located here. Okay, so it's located here. So all you essentially do is you change it, and so what you do is you click on the Q button and you select the ISO. Okay, and then what you have is all these different numbers, as you can see. Okay, so if you're for example shooting in a really bright environment, like for example today, what you might want to do is decrease your ISO. So just take it down to maybe 100. Why 100? Because it's a really bright sunny day. It's probably a little flicker on your camera, my camera screen, as you can see. And really you want a low ISO on a nice sunny day. If you are, for example, shooting indoors with fluorescent lighting, for example, you might want to increase that to about 300 to 400. Why? Because you still have quite lighting in there, but it's manufactured lighting. So I would do anything between 200 and 400 ISO. If, for example, you're shooting in really low light environments, you might want to take it to a bit higher, maybe 5 to 1000. Now bear in mind, the higher you go, the more sensitivity the camera has to light. So the higher the ISO may be in a really dark environment, what you'll get is a little bit of graininess. So if you've done any photography and you've shot in a dark environment, you might have noticed that your pictures are a little bit grainy. The reason why they're grainy is because probably your ISO is probably a little bit too high. So therefore, what you need to do is reduce your ISO down, or play around with it. Play around with it till you get the right balance. Obviously your aperture and your shutter needs to be sort of played around with in accordance to your ISO. However, your ISO will have an impact on the graininess and quality of your overall images. You may want the grainy quality in your images because you want a kind of maybe a rustic vintage look. So therefore the graininess is fine. But you may not want it. You might want a really clear, crisp image. So let me just rephrase that. I've gone to the little ISO button and I have clicked on that, and I've changed my ISO over here. Okay, you can also change it on this particular model by clicking on this little tab here. So this is 7D, click on the ISO and you can change it over here as well. My only sort of criticism with doing it this way is, well, if you're shooting like this, which most people do nowadays, if you're using a mirrorless, a DSLR, or even a smartphone, you're not going to necessarily do that, and then go back. It just seems like a little bit of time waste in order to get your image. Best way to do is obviously you hold your camera like this, click on this button, go to your ISO, use this button to move it around. Once you've got the right correct settings, select it and then shoot your image. Make sure you get the right ISO for the right environment, and it will make your pictures hell of a lot more better in terms of quality, reduction of graininess, and just that little bit of clarity in the overall continuity of your imagery. Thanks for watching, guys. Any questions, please do post, and I'm happy to respond to any of your questions that you may have. Thanks for watching.